Nuria Gimenez, thank you very much for being here, talking to us about your film, My Mexican BRETZEL. This is a very innovative kind of movie. It's very special in a way that it combines elements of an essay film, of a mockumentary. It has influences of documentaries, and it's a found footage movie. In the end, it's a mystery and evolves into a thriller. So and a portrayal of a couple, nonetheless. So how did you develop all this? Did it come from the story? Did you have a story first and then find the form, or was there material first?
Well, hello. First of all, and thank you very much for having me and inviting me to the festival. I'm very happy to be part of the selection. And about the process, I would say the material was the origin of everything. Nevertheless, when we found these 50, more or less 50 film reels, most of them were 16 millimeters, but some of them 8 millimeters. Mm-hmm. And we found them in the basement of my grandfather when he died. That happened 10 years ago. I was with my mother. She was the daughter of him. And then I decided to bring that was in Switzerland because they lived there. And I decided to bring it to Barcelona, where I live, and start digitizing and start watching what it was inside. So I was surprised to see the quality of the images. It was very well preserved. Of course, a Swiss basement is like almost like a luxury hotel, you could say. It was really very well preserved because you have to take into account it was 40 years long there. So, and I didn't restore it. I didn't do anything to it. So it's really like that. There is a color work, of mm-hmm. course, post-production image, but not the quality of the celluloid. So then I started to write on one hand, but I just started to write anything that came into my mind, not necessarily thinking about, the images, my grandfather's, that time, anything, my grandparents, sorry. No, just anything that came into my mind. And on the other hand, I started watching the images over and over again, lots of times, because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I started experimenting and playing with the images a lot and did like short things. And the only thing that was very important for me and that I knew is what I didn't want to do. And I didn't want to do a conventional documentary film talking about my grandparents' life, the real one. So that was the process. So I started like two parallel processes, texts on one hand and images on the other hand. But after 3 or 4 years, I started to looking for ways of bringing both things together, ways to, that was like the best part, like the most funny, interesting part. And then that lasted like 2 or 3 years. And there, the images were the ones leading the process. That's why I say the origin is the images. Of course, part of the text is like my obsessions. They were there all the time, and I tried to fit them in the way I could. So that was the process.
So it's a very personal film. It's a story not about your grandparents, but influenced by material of your grandparents, if I see it correctly. And you say, your obsessions are in it. I mean, you are the author of the diary, I guess, the author's diary. You are probably the Indian philosopher and poet as well. So there's a lot of yourself in it. And if I repeat it correctly, so it was a process of 10 years developing and producing the film.
In total, it was 7 years. But yeah, he died 10 years ago, but then we found them like maybe almost 1 year later. And until I got them here and started digitizing very slow. And I finished it like 1 year ago. So yeah, 7 years.
And you didn't shoot any additional material, so it's all the found footage of your grandparents.
Exactly, but because that was something I decided from the beginning, I needed some limitation. Otherwise, it would be too much. It's like a white blank paper, no? It's much more difficult than if someone writes a word and tells you do something from that point. So my limitation was to use only the images of the reels. Nonetheless, I used one thing that doesn't belong to the archive, which is the first images, the owl, the nightmare of the owl. That's the only thing I just found in the internet. Like, yeah.
Great. And so it's all original material, but did you change places? I mean, did you say have they really been at these places you're talking about, or is this kind of the fantasy mystery as well?
No, they've been in the places that are shown, but sometimes I tell you that that's Mallorca and maybe it's the Costa Brava. Yeah. I tell you that's Barcelona and maybe it was Madrid or Toledo or etc., etc. So that's why there is this image work or post-production to help give this uniformity to the film, to the color, because sometimes I'm using very different reels from different years with different lights, different texture, and I'm telling you it's the same moment and the same place. So to achieve that, of course, there's a brilliant work of Federico Del Pero of the color. Yeah.
But I think the beautiful thing is watching it, that it could be, it could be rearranged. It could be different reels from different people. It's just so, it's catalyzing the imagination so much. You're kind of editing, of this found footage, because obviously at some point, the watching this, one wonders, because it's such a fabulous tale. It's so rich and, it goes so many directions. I think what's very intriguing about the film is the sound. And the interesting thing is that there's so few of it. How did you come to the sound and, to this decision to minimalize it in this way?
That was another of the decisions that was very clear for me. That first of all, that I wanted most of the film in silence, because there is something, first of all, I also love silent cinema. I think it's really powerful. And second, I think we're so used and overwhelmed and constantly bombarded by sounds all the time and noises everywhere. And if you never have really the chance or the opportunity to watch images, moving images in silence. It's something we've lost, I think. And for me, they are really so powerful. It's and beautiful. And it's something I really enjoyed. For me, that was very clear. On the other hand, I also knew that I didn't want to have a voiceover. And that has a lot to do with also the format of the diary. Like to be faithful to a diary. The diary is made to be read, not to be said. And there is also some kind of sacred thing in the diary. The things you tell your diary belong just to you and the diary, and are never spoken. So I didn't want to break that silence, like the kind of sacred thing. And there's also something else. Of course, if I put a voice, I'm telling you a lot about Vivian Barrett. I prefer you as a viewer to decide how she speaks. If she's happy, angry, tired, exhausted, bored, whatever. And finally, it was very important for me that if I didn't have this voiceover, I could play a lot more with the sound. Otherwise, I couldn't do what I've done. So about the sound, I knew I didn't want to put ambient sound, as you know, but more play with the sound to express either the emotions or feelings or of the characters, or underline their obsessions, like the vehicles in the case of Leon Barrett, for example. And that was a great work. Jonathan Dark is a sound designer. We worked together almost for a year, and it was hard work because it was very difficult to decide when to start the sound, when to end it, and what sound we wanted there. What did we want to express, how, etc. So, but it was a very interesting process. Yeah.
It sounds like so, but listening to you talking about it, I guess it was a very small, intimate crew during this process, right? I mean, you talked about two very important people in the process. Can you give a bit more insight about your crew?
The crew is for people like me. Yeah. First, I was very lucky to count with the help of Andrés Duque, who is a great filmmaker I admire a lot, and who lives here in Barcelona too. So I asked him to, I just needed to talk to someone and show him what I had done with the material and with the text and everything. So he gave me really great advices, especially about also emptying a bit or taking things out, because of course, this is also my first feature film. So I wanted to put a lot of things in there, all the text, a lot of images, etc. And for that, there was also a great co-editor, who is also a great professional, Cristóbal Fernández. He's also a filmmaker, and he also did a great job in this sense, to give a bit this rhythm and to make that the three elements, the text, the sound, and the images, worked well together. Because my first versions, there was too many images, too much text, and the sound didn't make a lot of sense. So yeah, it was very important for me to have the luck to work with these four professionals, and that's the crew.
But I can assure you, from my point of view, you really succeeded, because it's a very rich film with these three elements: the text and the images, and the sound. But on the other hand, it's very reduced, and I think this works. That it's not over. There's not too much in it. So yeah, great.
Thank you very much. Yeah, that was exactly the point, that to keep the essence only and not too much. But it was difficult because I was very tempted to, there were a lot of images that were wonderful. And it was like, no, I don't want to sacrifice that image or that text. Of course, I had to, you always have to. But I've learned a lot about that. I think it's much more important to discard things than to,
Can you imagine? Yeah. No, in the end, we are in a very unique situation this year, and I think I just wanted to ask you, how was your experience having this great movie, being on festivals in a year where festivals are cancelled, where we have hybrid versions like ours? How is it to you to have your film out in this time, and how are the reactions? How do you feel about this?
Yeah, I mean, the whole year is being so weird. Everything is so weird that, it belongs to this weirdness, let's say, of the whole life. Everything has changed so much that that goes together somehow. But on one hand, I must say I was kind of lucky because thanks to have it online in a festival that wasn't supposed to be online and did it because of the pandemic situation, the production company Avalon, Spanish production company, saw it and was interested and jumped in. So that helped me a lot, of course. On the other hand, it's really, for me, kind of not sad, but it's a pity that it's watched in a computer, because there is such a wonderful work of sound and color, and there's no comparison with watching it in a cinema, of course. And also, I'm a big fan of cinemas as a temple, of a place to share an experience with other people. And I think that there's always an energy in the room that is very unique. So yeah, in that sense, it's a shame, and I really hope we can also go back to cinemas soon.
You know, it's funny you're saying it, because I don't know if you can see it. This is our brochure, and our claim is new film experience. And this is exactly, you're talking about a temple. We are also very much still hoping and looking forward to presenting the films and your great film in theaters, and hope to meet you there. So thank you very much, Nuria, for talking to us and for this great film. Thank you.
Thank you very much.